Hello and welcome everyone in our online webinar about recruiting on LinkedIn. Now that sponsored email is gone. And oops.
Sorry about that.
Let's see if everyone can hear us well and can see us well. So we can start. I'm going to share my screen as well. There you go. Can you just maybe type in the chat if you can hear us well, if you can see the slides well, so we can start.
We get a thumbs up and a yes, and yes.
Nice.
We're in business.
All right, cool. So first of all, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Stephanie. I'm marketing lead at Simple, and next to me stands Mark. He's one of the founders of Simple. We're going to talk about how to recruit on LinkedIn. Now sponsored email is gone. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can always ask them in the chat. There is a question tab. You can ask them also in the chat if you want. But please don't hesitate to ask questions because that's why we're here.
And that's the only reason I'm here.
I wanted to say that's why Mark is here.
That's why I'm here. So I have no use whatsoever apart from answering questions. So please give me some self-confidence, some value in my life by sending us questions.
Yes, please.
Otherwise, I'm going to be crying myself to sleep tonight. Right? My wife will be unhappy. My kids will be unhappy. You don't want that. Please, questions.
Yes. All right. What is on the agenda today? Well, sponsored email is gone, and I'm going to explain you first of all what sponsored email exactly is, because that is not always that clear. Then I'm going to talk about some marketing basics before you can actually set up a recruitment campaign on LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about alternatives to use on LinkedIn because sponsored email is not available anymore in Europe. And then I'm going to talk also a bit about some other interesting platforms to use when recruiting. All right, really quickly, what do we do at Simple? We provide qualified candidates, and we do this through very targeted advertising on social media. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now also TikTok for some of our clients. We have built a software for that, which we are going to explain at the end as well. And here you can see some proven results from Simple and also some of our customers. We analyze 11 million data points per month, which is really, really a lot, but we want to optimize our recruitment campaigns in the best possible way for all of our clients, of course. Okay, first of all, sponsored email is gone. Now, what is exactly a sponsored email? I'm going to try to explain it in the best possible way. So a sponsored email is a campaign that you build with the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. It is very targeted and you get it in your private message, and above the message is set sponsored. So it's a sponsored direct message which you get. It is something completely different than when you have a recruiter profile on LinkedIn and when you use Sales Navigator. Then you can also search for people and you can send them a private message, but it's not paid. Sorry, it is paid with the recruiter fee, but it is not advertising as such. Sponsored email is. Sponsored email is built with LinkedIn Campaign Manager, whereas inmails are built with Sales Navigator, and it's not paid. You don't have an advertising budget for it.
Can I maybe elaborate a teeny bit on that? Because I think it was a good explanation, but just to make sure there's no discussions, sponsored email allows you to mass email a bunch of people, right? You would say, I want to reach everybody with a master degree, in London, who also speaks French. You can actually target that audience and then send them sponsored emails. So it's very different than one-on-one emails. And that's a big difference. And that's also the reason why things are now not allowed anymore. Stephanie will explain in a second. But keep that in mind. So mass emails sent to a large bunch of people that you don't know who's in that audience, right? That's sponsored email. If you're saying, I like this person who's a developer in Serbia working for this company, I want to send them an email. That's a direct one-to-one email that is still allowed. And that's answered. I'm actually jumping in because there was a question from Marta on that.
Okay.
That allows me some talk time. And so there you go. So I think that question is hopefully answered.
All right, cool. Now, what did LinkedIn announce? They said we are suspending display of sponsored messages to European Union members on December 15th for all new campaigns due to evolving legal landscape, which is, of course, a bit fake, but I'm sure it has something to do with GDPR. Everything is something to do with GDPR nowadays. But they announced it at the 10th of December, and it actually went in on the 10th of January. On the 10th of January, we saw that the sponsored emails weren't delivered anymore. It's not really sure what the exactly reason is, and LinkedIn has also said today that it might come back once they have changed their legal policies, etc. But it's not sure. So you can't use sponsored email anymore in Europe, to be very clear.
Yes, I think so. If you're based in Europe, but you're sending messages, for instance, to people in Africa or Asia, that's still allowed. The other way around. So everything outside of Europe is still allowed, because I know we have some people logging in from outside of the EU.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, what are the alternatives to use? Well, there are some. Sorry,
this is a live webinar, so you can see the police. So it's a fire hazard actually passing by.
Okay, it gives some drama to the live webinar, right?
That's the impact the LinkedIn sponsored emails have on the recruitment community.
Okay, so there are some alternatives to use in the LinkedIn Campaign Manager, and the first one is you can make some advertisement with a picture and with some copy above, which will be shown in the profiles of in the LinkedIn feed when people log in. This is one option. The other option is to use a video as well. I will just show you this one really quickly. There you go. So that's also an option. You can use a picture, you can use a video, you can also use a carousel, which are multiple pictures to show to your audience. And then a third one, but I would not really recommend that one, is a spotlight advertisement, which will be shown only on desktop, and it will be shown on the right top of your LinkedIn feed. But we experimented with that, and we didn't see any results coming in. And what is a result? Of course, applications. So what we recommend is to use pictures and video advertisements on in the feed of LinkedIn. Now, how do you have to set up those? I'm going to explain you, but first of all, I want to know who is already doing recruitment campaigns on LinkedIn. So maybe we can launch a poll.
Yes, let me just check where that poll is. Well, so it's a bit more general as the question. So the question is, have you ever published a paid recruitment campaign?
Okay.
Not only on LinkedIn, but this could also be, on Facebook. We are talking about paid recruitment campaigns on social media. So not, yes, I spend money on Indeed or Glassdoor or job boards. It's really social media. So let's have a look at the results. Okay, but 70% of people have not yet done that.
Okay.
So yes, it's good we kind of stick around a bit with some of the basics first.
Indeed.
And to the 8% of the people who have yet done that, stick around with us or bear with us for a couple of slides, and you might even learn something new about the basics, who knows.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Before you can actually set up your recruitment campaign, you need to install the LinkedIn Insight tag. And maybe we're going to launch another poll to see who knows what this actually is.
I thought I was going to have a quiet afternoon, Stephanie. I have to launch polls, answer questions. Jesus Christ. Okay, there you go. Publish another poll. And please, no more polls for 5 minutes. Yes, so let's have a look at the results here.
Mm-hmm.
And not completely unexpected, but a big bunch of people, of course, because if you have never done recruitment campaigns, so about 70% of people, what the hell is an Insight tag? And only 10% have actually installed it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
nice.
give some explanations.
So the LinkedIn Insights tag is actually a piece of code that you need to install on your website. Once you have installed it, you can track all the things that people do on your website, and that information is sent back to LinkedIn to optimize your campaigns in the best way. I'm not going to explain you into detail the technical setup. I would recommend you to read our white paper about data-driven recruitment. And there we actually explain everything in detail. How do you need to set up? And Mark will show you, will share a link to our Simple Academy. So you can search for our white paper over there. You can also find all our webinar recordings over there, all for free in our academy. Now, why should you install?
Don't go there now.
No.
Let's just make it clear. There's still some good content coming here.
Indeed.
Also for free.
Yes.
Right? But once you want to learn more, go to our academy. And I'm just pushing it into the feed now.
Okay.
So there you go.
So I already explained to you, you need to track conversions. LinkedIn needs to know when a conversion has taken place, so the algorithm can optimize in the best way your recruitment campaign. It's simple. Once you come to our vacancy page, then you have to fill in an interactive questionnaire. We do it with Typeform. And then once they filled in the questionnaire, they come to a thank you page. And on that thank you page, the LinkedIn Insight tag is fired. That information is sent back to LinkedIn, so LinkedIn knows that a conversion has taken place. There is an application. The second important thing which you can do with the LinkedIn Insight tag is you can build audiences. Once you've defined a really good target audience for your vacancy, you can broaden that audience through the LinkedIn Insights tag, which is called lookalike audiences. You actually say to LinkedIn, okay, this is a bunch of people with and the LinkedIn algorithm will see what are the common interests, what are the websites they visit, what are the interests they follow on LinkedIn itself, and LinkedIn will show your advertising to a broader audience, to the same target audience, but just to broaden your audience. And then the third one is retargeting. What is retargeting? Well, people, they scroll on LinkedIn on their mobile, they click on an advertisement, they come to your vacancy page, but they don't have time maybe to apply directly. So you can retarget them with some advertisements, again, for your recruitment vacancy. So you can be top of mind with those people. I don't know if you know, maybe you can explain also the
shoe example?
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
So I'm not sure why I'm always, it looks like I'm always shopping for shoes, but just to give you an example, you probably know this, you went to Amazon or to another e-commerce website, you've looked at a certain item, let's just imagine those are shoes, right? Or you even put them into your cart, your shopping cart, but then, whatever, the Masked Singer comes onto television and you forget about, buying those shoes. And then what you will then notice is that for a couple of days, for at least, you will start seeing advertising for those shoes on different websites that you visit, right? And that's the power of retargeting, just kind of reminding you, hey, this is in your cart. Don't forget about these shoes. You might want to go and look and actually buy them as quickly as possible. And obviously, this is kind of relatively cheap way of buying advertising space because it's kind of one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So it's not that expensive, but it's very, very effective. Especially, you have to look at the frequency and how long you want to show those ads after that. But it's a very, very effective way of pushing people back to your vacancy or shoe cart in this particular case. Mm-hmm. Can I just interrupt because in the interest of kind of continuous improvement, we want to test the new mic we have here. So I'm just gonna see if you can put on your mic on mute. Let's see.
I can't.
You can't?
Wait, let me see. I'm not sure where.
Okay, no, let's do it another time then.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue, and
okay.
We hope that the sound quality is good enough as we speak now.
All right, next to the LinkedIn Insight tag, there are some other useful tools which you can use to actually track all the things that happens to your website. And One of them is Google Analytics. Google Analytics will show you the data that every person takes on your website. So how long do they stay on a page? On which buttons do they click? On which pages do they come? It gives you really useful information. Now, how do you have to install all those pixels? Well, you can use Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Manager is a platform where you can easily set up the pixels. Also, you can make some events over there to track, and you don't really need a developer to actually go in your code of your website. Google Tag Manager is a really handy and useful tool for that. And then the third one, which I want to share with you, is Google Data Studio. And Google Data Studio is a platform where you can build graphs, customized graphs with all the data which you received from LinkedIn, from Google Analytics, but maybe also from other social media platforms such as Facebook or Instagram. So these are all useful tools to help you set up your recruitment campaigns in the best way, because of course you're paying for it, you pay a media budget for it. So you want to know where something goes wrong and where you have to optimize your campaign or your vacancy page. What I also recommend is, if you're planning to do recruitment campaigns in the future, then set up the LinkedIn Insight tag already today, because it can already gather some data from your website, which you can use for your campaigns.
I would even add to that, I mean, while you're at it, and if you're going to have to do it anyway, also install the Facebook pixel, right?
Yes, indeed.
And maybe even the TikTok pixel. Because as Stephanie said, the quicker you start collecting data, and of course, the kind of data you capture with the LinkedIn tag or LinkedIn pixel is different. Sorry, Insight tag.
Yeah.
All these different names, whatever. They're all pixels at the end of the day, right? Whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or TikTok, you capture a different set of data, which will help you building your data-driven recruitment campaigns later on.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Next to these tools, I also want to explain to you the funnel. What is a funnel? Well, here you see the recruitment funnel, and those are all different steps that the person takes to actually come to a hire. So first of all, an application has taken place. Then you have the selection process, which is different in every company. You can have different job interviews, and then hopefully you come to a hire. So these are all the steps that an applicant takes. But before the recruitment funnel, and this is actually more important, is a marketing funnel. Because of course, you want to get traffic to your vacancy page. And this is where the marketing funnel comes in. The marketing funnel can be divided into 3 different steps. The first one is the discover phase. And in the discover phase, you will show advertisements to a broad audience. Here you can see an example. So for example, if you're looking for someone in construction, a job function in construction, they are going to show a blog or some trends of 2022 about construction. So you know that people that click on that advertisement are probably working in construction because they want to know more about it. But you will not show your specific vacancy yet. It's only in the engage phase where you will show, where you will talk about a bit more about boost your career. Are you looking for a new job opportunity? So you know that people that click on that advertisement are willing to change jobs. It's only in the attract phase where you will show your specific advertisement for your job function, which you're looking for at your company. So here, for example, we were looking for a construction engineer, and it's immediately clear that it's a job vacancy advertisement. So this is the marketing funnel, and the marketing funnel is linked to the recruitment funnel as well, because LinkedIn will not only have a look at your campaign, but it will also have a look at the performance of your website, of the people that come to your website through that campaign. So you have to make a visualization of your funnel so you know where you have to optimize, because like I already said, you're paying for it and you want to have the best results of it, and you want to know where something goes wrong. All right. Once you've set up all the pixels, once you have a good understanding of your funnel, then you can actually start building your campaign on LinkedIn. And I think the most important thing is to define your target audience. Think about what should my audience look like? So what are the hard skills that he or she needs to have? What are the degrees? What is the experience that they need to have? What are the common interests of my audience? And think about it before you dive into LinkedIn Campaign Manager. Because in LinkedIn Campaign Manager, there are lots of options, and you can be overwhelmed by all the options to set up your audience. Now, the first one is, of course, the location. If you're looking for someone in London, you can easily select London as a location in the Campaign Manager. The second one is you can also choose lots of job experiences. You can also tell to LinkedIn, okay, I'm looking for someone with at least 5 years of experience. You can also look for master degrees in, for example, communications, or another master or a bachelor. You can all use the data of LinkedIn in the LinkedIn Campaign Manager itself. But then the third one, and this is actually the most important one, is data. Like I already said, you have to install the LinkedIn Insight Tech because LinkedIn loves data, so do we at Simple. And if you already have, for example, a vacancy with the same job function, then you can use that data to actually build a similar audience to reach your target audience. Maybe we can just show it how we do it in our software.
Yes.
Let's see. So here you can see a print screen of our software, and of course you can set your targeting up with the LinkedIn Campaign Manager, but we just want to show you how it's done with our software.
Yes, and before we kind of start the video, I think what we've shown here, and we'll come back to that later maybe also, is just a dummy example of should you be looking for a barista in New York. So I think once you click in the function name, and that's what the beauty of having data is, you can actually look at all the similar vacancies that we have run in the past. In this case, we choose a category of hospitality, 3 to 5 years experience. And if you've set up your back data and you actually collected all data from similar vacancies, you can use that data for future reference or for your own future campaigns. So either you can set it up yourself if you're running a lot of campaigns, for instance, let's say you're a search agency, or obviously if you don't have that data set, you can use our software at kind of a very cheap price also. It's not free like our content, but it's also very cheap. And you can actually use the benefit of our data to run your own campaigns. Good.
All right. Once you've defined your target audience, we would also recommend to have a look at the competition. And what is really important, I'm not talking about the competition of your company, but I'm talking about the competition of your target audience. Because LinkedIn is a bidding platform and you're competing against people that also want to reach the same audience as you. So I'm just going to...
Can I just elaborate on that, Stephanie, because that's really, really important to understand that this is not Indeed, right? Where everybody on Indeed who's spending money is doing that to reach people. And I think probably most of you will look at LinkedIn as your recruitment channel, but a lot of money and a lot of advertising is spent on B2B software, all the kind of B2B marketing that is done on LinkedIn, but also even just some consumer brands that are currently advertising on LinkedIn. You really need to keep that in mind. That's your competition when targeting a certain audience. Not necessarily your real competition, but it's everybody advertising on LinkedIn. So it's also totally different if you're just pushing vacancy posts on LinkedIn. Yes, then you're in recruitment space. But once you go into advertising, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different competition. It's also a whole different tool set that you need to stand out in there.
So I just want to show you where you can find those advertisements of your competition. I'm going to share my screen again. So let's go to LinkedIn. And let's go to our Simple page. There you go. So you can search for any company. Of course, they need to have a Simple company page. And then here you can find the advertisements of of the company. So you can see all the advertisements that they are running right now, and it can give you some inspiration about how your advertisement should look like. So it's really handy to give you some ideas to build your advertisements.
It's all of the campaigns which are currently running on air,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's also important that, so, the earlier you want to start with your preparation, the better it probably is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we've done over more than 7,000 recruitment campaigns already. So we want to share some tips and tricks with you guys on how to actually make attractive advertisement for recruitment. And the first tip, which I want to share with you, is use authentic pictures. And this is a really important one, because I know you can search for a lot of stock images on the internet, but people want to know where they are going to work, in which team, who are the people that are working over there. So use authentic pictures, and you don't need to hire a professional photographer for that. You can just take them with your smartphone, like you see here on the slides. These are also nice pictures of teams, a team building, a cook as well. So yeah, that's one tip. And then the second one is use uniform communication. What do I mean by that? Well, I would recommend to show your brand as well on the advertisements. Like you see over here, Loop Earplugs, for example, is one of our clients, and we show immediately the logo on the advertisements. We use the same colors for the copy on the visual. I would also recommend to always say what profile you are looking for. Tell the job function immediately on your advertisement, and use the same branding colors on your website as well, on your vacancy page, so that the communication is uniform. And then the third one, there are lots of best practices to find on the internet of how you can use LinkedIn. But what we recommend is, if you find, for example, that a video is working better than a picture, well, what we say is test it first before you actually agree to that statement or to that best practice. It can give you some inspiration, but I would recommend to test it anyways, because if you're launching a video and a picture, then you can see after a couple of days which one is working best for your target audience, because this is also important. If you're doubting about two pictures, just test it and see the results coming in, because a picture, well, it needs to resonate within your audience, of course. And then what you can also use is some videos, and I just want to show you these before I explain them. All right, and then the other one. So those are really short and snappy videos. You see that we show the brand, we use the same branding colors within the video. We use authentic pictures so people know where they are going to work and with who they are going to work. And it's a really nice and attractive way to actually attract applicants as well on LinkedIn. Are there any questions?
No, not at the moment.
All right.
Double checking, but it's awfully quiet in the question zone. So,
okay, so I hope that everything is then clear. Like I already said, we love A/B testing, and we also recommend it. What is actually an A/B test? It's actually a test that you run where you only defer one variable. So here, for example, you see two advertisements, picture advertisements. The copy is the same, the function title is the same, the call to action is the same. It's only the visual that is different. So this is a really nice way to see, okay, which one is working best and why is the right picture or the left picture working better than the other version. And of course, you can test everything. You can test the pictures, you can test your copy as well, you can test your vacancy page. Maybe you can include a video on your vacancy page or not. You can A/B test really everything to see what is working best to get the most applications that you need. All right. Then how much budget do you need to provide to run?
Just, because there are some questions, I think just asking it reminded people that they could ask questions.
Yes.
Maybe we haven't been clear enough before. But Susanna is asking, can you run campaigns in various languages? And what is the cost? We'll come back on the cost later.
Yeah.
But I think the question on campaigns in various languages is a good one. Not that the cost is not a good question, but I will come back to that second. So various languages.
Yes, you can set up advertisement in every language you want, and you can also define to which people you want to show your advertisement. So, for example, if you only want to reach English speaking people, then you can actually set it up in the target, in the audience section of your campaign. So yes, you can run in every language you want.
And this follow-up question from Susanna is on how long does it take to put together the content for the campaign?
It depends if you already have content. So if you already have some nice pictures, if you have a good copywriter in-house, then I think it will take only a quarter, maybe 15 minutes to set up a campaign. But it depends. If you want to make a video, then it will take some more time, of course. But setting up the campaign will only take you 5 minutes, I think.
Oh, you're talking about our software. I mean, let's be honest. If you're not used to using the ads manager of LinkedIn, it's quite a complicated beast.
I know, but I thought she was only talking about the advertisement, the creative, the content part.
You're actually right. If I read the question again, it's putting together the content for the campaign.
That's what I thought.
So at least somebody's paying attention here. Stephanie, okay, thank you very much. It's official now. My role here is totally useless. I will leave the meeting. You can ask questions directly to Stephanie. Okay?
All right, so I hope that is clear. Susanna was the name. Yeah. All right, what is the budget that you need to provide to run recruitment campaigns on LinkedIn? Well, you need to have at least 10 euros a day. Then you can set up one version of your advertisement. But of course, if you want to run A/B tests, which we recommend, then you need to provide, more budget. But the minimum needs to be 10 euros a day. I'm not sure what the question was about the budget.
Yeah, it's just the question. What is the cost? I think what is the total cost of the campaign? Obviously, it will depend on how quick and how successful it is. But Susanna is typing at the moment, so maybe she's asking a follow-up question, or maybe she's just saying, "Mark, please come back. We need you in this webinar." I'm not sure what's going to be the content of her message. Okay, but let's continue for now.
Yes. All right. Now, of course, there are some other alternatives to use when you want to recruit people, because many people think about LinkedIn as a first place, and 20% is actually actively looking for a job on job boards or on Google, but 80% of the working population is not actively looking for a job, and you have to convince them where they are every single day. And where are they every single day? On Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and also LinkedIn, of course. But I just want to share with you that LinkedIn, there are lots of recruiters on LinkedIn, and I know you can find candidates over there. But on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, there are also lots of people, lots of users, and you can convince them over there to actually change jobs by setting up really good recruitment campaigns as well. You can also reach people over there, and you can also target really specific for your vacancy over there. All right.
Well, we have the follow-up question from Susanna. It turns out, I'm actually quite happy to say that my interpretation of the question was the right one. So the question was, how long does the whole process of getting the content together and getting it out to social media take? I mean, I'll take that question maybe.
Yes.
I think, Susanna, if you have no experience in running LinkedIn ads, that might take you a while because it's not a very user-friendly system, which is one of the reasons why we actually built our software. So I would say, if you would have to learn it and first time on LinkedIn, it's going to take you at least a couple of hours. So you're all good with LinkedIn ads? Didn't know that. This is going to be a one-on-one conversation, I'm noticing. But let's just say, if you're good at that, it's going to take you half an hour.
Yeah.
half an hour
maximum, yeah.
Maximum to set it up. And then how long you run it is obviously depending on how good your targeting is. We, on general, run advertising campaigns for about 30 days, because that's what we know is kind of that gives us a good amount of time to kind of fine-tune the campaigns, to do some A/B testing, to let the algorithm also understand what you're looking for. And if at the end of the 30 days you really have bad results, then probably this wasn't the right medium or the right campaign to do that. And then just on the cost, because you want to run it in different languages. I think very roughly, kind of just to put a ballpark number on that, the CPM on LinkedIn would be what, 12?
Yeah, something like that.
So the CPM is basically the cost per 1,000 impressions, which, just to compare that, is about double of Facebook. So you're going to pay double the price of your advertising on LinkedIn. And then kind of, assuming you have some good, it's very difficult to put numbers on the amount of clicks. But I think you want to run it, you want to show it to about, let's say you want to run 300,000 impressions. It's going to cost you somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 euros just running that on LinkedIn. And then you're going to be having about 300,000 impressions, meaning about 300,000 people. It's a bit more complicated. We'll see it once, right? No problems for taking over the webinar, Susanna, but I think we're going to move on to a different set. If you have any more questions, then please send out. So there's one last question. I think it's a very good one. Susanna is saying, I have a very good following, 25,000 people in our network. Does that change anything?
No. So there is a big difference between organic and between paid campaigns and posts and advertisements. And the amount of followers doesn't impact the advertisement that you run. And also what I want to share with you is that if you have, how much was it, 25,000 people on LinkedIn, and you post something, then only 3% will actually see that post. Of course, if they engage and they reply, then it can go viral. But the LinkedIn algorithm is really hard to crack organically. So if you want to do recruitment campaigns, then we really advise you to do it with a media budget and to do paid recruitment campaigns.
Yeah. And whether you have lots of followers or not will not impact the quality or the amount of money you have to spend there.
No, indeed. What I also want to share with you, and I haven't talked about that as well, but it's also something that you need to think of, is when you create your campaign, when you create your advertisement, you want to pop out because people are scrolling on their mobile. So you have to think about, okay, what is in it for the candidates? So what is different for my company than for the same job function in another company? If you have a nice salary package, if you don't have to work during the weekend, or if you have, I don't know what, then really just mention it in your advertisement, because of course you want to attract those people and you want them to click on your advertisement to come to your vacancy page and eventually apply, of course. Now, for setting up recruitment campaigns on social media, you have to think about the Facebook pixel, you have to think about the business profiles on LinkedIn, you have to think about the LinkedIn Insight tag, you have to install Google Analytics, you have to think about A/B testing, etc., etc. But what we did is we've built a software, it's simple, where you can easily set up your recruitment campaigns without any marketing know-how. And it will continuously A/B test all at once. You don't have to have a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page. You don't need to have a website even. You don't need to think about all the tracking and all the data. We all do it for you. And the simple algorithm will automatically optimize your campaign in the best way. So maybe just really show you our software. Let's see.
I'll show our screen?
Yes.
Our screen. It's a bit of Scottish in between there. Let's go live here on the app. So this is actually, you've seen, yes, okay, yeah. I'm on screen now. We've shown you already the targeting. So like I said, it's very easy. You just give us the function name, the kind of category where you want to play in. And then you can very easily set up your advertising. You just choose the format, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, which is going to go live in a couple of days, actually. And once you've done it, it's what you see is what you get. So you click on the advertising, you can change the text, you click on the picture, you can change your logo, your image. You automatically put a banner there with the function name of what you're looking for. You can actually turn on, where you can choose the colors of that banner. So you don't need Photoshop anymore. You don't need Canva. Everything can be done here. And then once you have your advertising set up, you can set up your landing page. And like Steph said, it's very important to keep the consistency there with your advertising. Once you go live, you can actually also manage all your candidates in this software. And what's important is that, let's assume that this is Rachel who has applied for this function. You can just drag her to in procedure to say, look, I don't think, once I've actually looked at the results or the answers that Rachel has given me in the chatbot, I want to kind of stop the procedure for Rachel. You can drag her in here, and then you'll be able to kind of select an email and a template to be kind of very clear and kind of have a clear communication flow with Rachel. But also, that will give us our software input to learn what kind of candidates you like, where they're coming from, because everything, once you go live, will be kind of live in real time. You'll be able to track the impressions you've been given, how many visits, how many applications you have. You can click on different channels. You can look at different time slots. You can slice and dice the data any which way you want. But even more important, our algorithm will actually decide on what ads are working, what ads are not working. They will stop, put on inactive the ads that are not effective, and will only continue with the best working ads. So all that testing, etc., is done by our algorithm, and you don't have to waste time doing that. And you can just focus actually on managing the candidates that are coming in into your workflow for you to manage. And finally, as the last thing I'm going to show here, this is on the Academy. So once you register for the Academy, you'll be able to kind of have a look at our software. But here on the left, you click on Academy, and that's where you will find all the white papers, the webinars, the checklists. We've made all this free content that you can use. Okay, I'll just hand back the screen to Steph.
Yes.
For the final Q&A.
Yes, indeed. So if you still have some questions about recruiting on LinkedIn, you can still ask them in the chat or in the question tab. And if you have some questions in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks, you can always send us an email or a private message on LinkedIn. I would also recommend you to follow our simple LinkedIn page, where you will always find our new webinars, which we're hosting because we're doing webinars every week. All our white papers that we write, you can also find them over there. All right.
Sorry, good question from Maya.
Yes.
Maybe the final one, we're not sure if there's the last one, but what's a good and bad CTR for recruitment ads? So CTR is click-through in percentages, so maybe you can get a number on that.
So I think a bad click-through is underneath 1.55. I think 1.55 is actually for an engineer function, for example, is actually a good percentage. So it all depends of your job function, but a really good percentage click-through is 2%, more than 2%. But on LinkedIn, it is quite difficult to say because it's always different. We sometimes have a click-through from 1.60, but sometimes it can be 2.1. So I can't really give you a good or bad. It really depends on your function type.
But it's never 4, right?
No.
Let's put that your number. Yeah. So that's also important. Once you start running the numbers and kind of start making calculations of the money you have, it's never 3, 4, 5, 6% of people are going to click on your ad, as good as it might be. And actually building up on that, we have a Google Sheets calculator or financial Facebook formula that helps you calculate how much budget you need to run a campaign. You'll also find it in the Academy. It's specifically for Facebook, I think.
Yes.
And we haven't yet built that for LinkedIn, but I would actually, as kind of a rule, say you can use it for LinkedIn and just double or triple the budgets that are going to be needed. Because the budget on LinkedIn is always going to be a lot more expensive than on Facebook. So you can use the Facebook calculator and just kind of understand that it's going to be double or 3 times as much on LinkedIn.
All right. Maybe to
sorry,
one more question.
You get different responses for different types of positions. What about medical and health-oriented vacancies? What's the effectiveness in your experience? I think I know what you're going to answer, but I'm going to let you answer anyway.
That's a difficult one because it's a bottleneck profession. So it is difficult to reach those people because all those people are currently working. They're not actively looking for to switch position. But if you, for example, if you're looking for a nurse and you only have day shifts, then that's something that you really need to highlight in your advertisements. You really need to think about, okay, what is different and how am I going to convince people that are currently working as a nurse, how am I convince them to actually change jobs?
Yeah, I think it's a great example. It's actually a real campaign which we run for a customer, where we started off with some standard points on the vacancy. Then in week 2 or 3, we switched to kind of saying, look, you only need to work 1 out of 3 weekends. And we saw applications triple for that. And of course, once applications triple, your costs go down very, very quickly. Let me see if somebody in the chat, I think, asked me a question, but my chat is not connecting anymore. I have a bit of just thank you from Maya. Okay, there you go. I think
let's launch one more poll.
Yes.
The last one.
Last poll. There's a question from Hubert. Can I consult with you on this? Yes, please, Hubert. Just send me an email and we can see if we can help you out. And we can set up a video call to discuss. Question from Maya, can you connect LinkedIn ads with InMail? You want to retarget them through an InMail? No, you can't.
No.
Because that would be, at the moment people have seen recruitment advertising, you don't know who that person is, right? So yes, you have pics of them, you can retarget them with advertising, but InMail would mean that you know specifically name, first name of that person. And not only from a GDPR perspective, that would be wrong, but it's just plain creepy. So we would, we would advise against it, but it's also not possible. Good, but we'll launch the last poll, which is just your feedback on the webinar.
Yes.
And which will define whether we get paid at the end of this month, yes or no. Let's see. So please just let us know how likely you are to recommend this webinar to a friend or colleague. Not just this webinar, the simple webinars in general.
Yes.
And if this was a accurate reflection of the quality and the fun you have while watching one of our webinars. So let's have a look at the scores. A couple of 10s in there. 8, 7, 9. Well, thank you. Thank you for sticking to the end.
Yes.
It's about, just so you know, about 80% of people who started stayed till the end, which is, I think, a very good percentage. So it means we've been giving some good content.
Nice.
So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Mark.
I don't say that enough, so let me say it in public. Thank you, Stephanie, for preparing this. And thank you to the whole marketing team, right, for doing this.
All right. So then I wish you a very pleasant afternoon. And if you still have questions, then you can find us on LinkedIn. All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.